Zero, one, two, three. Deadlock is the greatest game to have ever been made. Deadlock is a 6v6 hero shooter MOBA hybrid. It is in the beta stage and it's only invite only. So you can only play the game if you are invited by a friend or if you get or if you ask somebody to invite you. It doesn't have to just be a friend, of course. This game is so popular that it is top 20 on Steam's chart in terms of player numbers. Also, it also has 68,000 concurrent players. So that means that 68,000 people are tuning in to play this game every day. Now, that may not seem that high when you consider like other major titles like Path of Exile, like Rust that has 134,000 players, Marvel Rivals, which is a competitor in some ways. It's Deadlock is a MOBA, but it's also a hero shooter, so it kind of competes, but it more aligned competes with League of Legends and Dota. But Marvel Rivals has a player base of 111,000. Deadlock has a player base of 68,000, like I said. So now that may be smaller, but like if you consider the fact that you can only play the game if you're invited, you can only play the game and you're invited, and like there's literally no other way to get the game. You have to consider the fact that because it's invite only, that means that that number when it comes out, when people are actually able to actually play the game, that number is going to be dramatically higher. Like there's no way it's not going to be higher. 68,000 players, top 20 in terms of concurrent players that are coming and playing the game while it's invite only and the game is not fully released, it's not fully done, it's in the beta test, it's an alpha test or whatever, I don't know what they call it, beta test. They're still adding new mechanics to the game, and I believe that that's kind of I feel like when the game gets a full release, I feel like the game will have a massive player base that will probably make it one of the biggest games ever. I don't know. Let me look at some of the top teams. Oh, Dota, CS:GO. I don't know if it'll hit Dota or CS:GO levels, but I feel like this game has a potential to be up there, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that the developers are very well connected to the community. I feel like personally, like I feel like they playing games and making videos on it. I felt like the developers were literally between games. The developers would literally like I would go from game to game, and then the game would be like, "This game is outdated. Update the game." Now I've never had that with like there's very few circumstances where a game developer is updating the game while not even like on a routine schedule where they're like maybe on Wednesday at 5 p.m. EST we're going to shut down the server. No, no, no. Yoshi and with the other devs, Yoshi is the main developer of the game. I think he's the main developer. They update the game sporadically throughout the week. You may be going from like hour to hour, and then uh, Yoshi and the team they get a phone call and they have like something that they want to iron out, they want to update, or they might just push out a full they might just push out a full balance patch, a full change to the entire flow of the game, adding a new mechanic. Like, and that just happens randomly. Like that's crazy. Crazy. I've never played a game. I've never played a game where developers are so willing to update the game like that much. Like there's literally no game that's like that. I feel like the developers are very uh I feel like they listen a lot to like what people want. Like I personally thought that Deadlock should have more objectives. So let me pick up where I left off. So I had long thought personally that Deadlock should have more objectives. I felt like the map is still incomplete, and that's something that the developers are obviously looking at. So what did the developers do? They ended up dropping the Unstoppable Rift, I'm pretty sure it's called, or it's Unstable Rift. And the Unstable Rift is an add-on as another objective along with the urn. You can obviously turn in the urn, and I feel like the Unstable Rift is a very good objective. I mean, that's exactly what I wanted, and it was exactly as I had thought. That the developers were experimenting with the urn for so long for a reason. The reason why they're experimenting with it was to figure out what could best work, how to incorporate more gameplay aspects into a game like Deadlock, because Deadlock is a unique game that no other game is equivalent. I mean, there's no equivalent to Deadlock. A 6v6, skill based, fast paced MOBA with shooter esque aesthetics, and it's with entirely new mechanics and movement. And what I'm trying to say is that like Deadlock, there's so many ways that the game can go, and I've and the game is still not finished. But the developers are over time they are polishing their product. Deadlock from a year ago, where it did the features, the vibrancy of the map, the contrast, the brightness of the map, the aesthetics, the even the items, the item art, all of that stuff has changed. That's I mean, I don't want to say that like no other game does not undergo changes, but like not to the same degree that Deadlock does. The same degree, like no way, like no way. There's no way. There's constant updates that are constantly changing the art, tweaking the art, talking about new character models that are coming out. Like I can never imagine like any other game where they even talk about like uh character model changes. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that like skins are a form of product that is sold to these games, so they may end up like still looking at like other skins if they have like issues with brightness or like in certain spots where stuff bugs out or something. They may change that, but like there's no like I can't really think of like any time a MOBA game or a hero shooter game gets like a full like art change or whatnot. There are obviously engine updates. There's obviously different maps, like especially like Overwatch 2 that came out. Overwatch 2 has a night mode of certain maps, afternoon mode of certain maps, the morning of certain maps. But that's a whole different game. I mean, the fact that Deadlock is doing that all the time. I mean, I feel like I feel like it's still pretty impressive overall. So I feel like the developers are pretty good at listening and adding on to the game features that like players want. If one thing I oh yeah one thing that came to mind. Yoshi or whoever changed it, they changed Doorman's door so that it actually works. If you're on the so like if you're on the side lanes and then there's like rocks near like the wall. Like normally you're not supposed to be able to place the door because the rocks are in the way, and that used to always annoy me because there's like four spots you could really place the door. You could place it like under the tier 3 minions. You could place it under the bridge, which was like under the bridge, but also it had to be under the little circular thing that's like on one of the that's like on like a giant slab of stone. Like it was super specific, and it's kind of annoying to to try to like toss down doors and it just not work. Your ability just not work because the level is not so the playing field is not level and the map is not level. So your ability just ends up not working. But they ended up fixing that, and that's lit, man. Maybe more vortex web on the side lanes. That's fun. But oh, speaking of vortex web, I mean, I feel like a lot of builds are very fun. I feel like the game feels pretty fun, and I feel like that's obviously the most important aspect is the game fun? And I feel like a lot of people enjoy the game, even if they do get angry at it. I feel like the game is very enjoyable because you have a vibrant choice of builds to select. You have a vibrant map, or you don't really have maps yet. Who knows? Who knows what they're gonna do in maps? That would be crazy. They have like three maps. That would be crazy. Oh my god, three, but three is insane though. But they have uh you know, so many builds that you can do. Spirit tank, shred, spirit burst. Well, spirit burst and spirit tank shred is the same thing. I think. Yeah, yeah. You have like spirit utility. You have pure utility, which is like uh, I would say divine barriers, like rescue beam, um, stuff like that. You also have uh, uh, gun builds, obviously. Gun builds with life steal, gun builds with pure shred, pure pen, or just attack speed builds. Like, there's so much stuff you could do that is like so unique. Or even all the things that you can do with like an item like trophy collector. All right, hopefully. Is it focusing properly? I think so. With an item like trophy collector, you have a lot of options about what builds, or like if you're snowballing and you want to do something unique. An item like Echo Shard, even though I don't, there's certain characters that Echo Shard is kind of cheat on. Like Echo Shard is kind of cheat on Ivy. It's kind of cheat on whatchamacallit, on Haze. Definitely cheat on Haze. I think that's unanimous. Like everyone agrees that Haze is cheat with Echo Shard. But the option to even be able to like have two sleep darts, or to have Mirage have four natives, like there's so much like different scenarios that can occur, and that's kind of what makes the game good. I mean, like you want new refreshing stuff to happen, and that's what keeps the game fun. And I feel like Deadlock does that very well as well. So I've also heard that like they're also trying to like update the matchmaker, and oh gosh, out of focus, bruh. Out of focus. Shoot. Also heard they're trying to update the matchmaker, and that's obviously going to have, certain implications. Overall the matchmaking is still, still pretty fun. I still have fun in my games, but I do understand that like a lot of people aren't placed where they need to be, and they'll obviously get better at that. Eventually they'll hit the gold mine. I feel like the developers have hit the gold mine on the gold standard on a lot of aspects of the game. I feel like the items and the different playstyles they offer, like return shot, like even alchemical fire, the ability to to gun shred, or even melee builds and all that stuff. I feel like those items are very fun. So if they can make fun items, especially from where they were, a year ago, 2 years ago, even, I feel like they will get the matchmaker right. I feel like they will get the objectives right. And because who knows, maybe they'll be like, maybe they'll add more to the sewers, and there'll be like a whole separate layer of like under the base, or under the or playing off of the the trope of it being in the game being staged in New York. You could have stuff to do with the subway or whatever. I don't know what they could do, but but it could be fun. You never know what this game is going, and I feel like that's kind of why uh there's such high expectations, or my personal expectations are or personally, that like this game is gonna be fun. Like this game is gonna be fun, and it's gonna be big. I feel like it will be big, it will be fun, and I feel like it will add a lot of vibrant things that like a lot of game developers, maybe they've thought of, but like they've not been able to like fully realize. But like Valve has the opportunity to like fully realize like a beautiful objective of making one of the greatest games, in my opinion, to have that would have been ever been made. Oh man. And that brings me to the question. Why do I say Deadlock is the greatest game ever made? And I feel like I pretty much answered it pretty well. I feel like Deadlock is a very, I will say, there are some issues with it being the greatest game. Greatest game to who? I feel like it is the greatest game because um it is kind of hard, it's very hard to get into. I feel like Deadlock is super hard for like any if you just got a computer, I feel like you would not be able to play Deadlock because you're playing against people that have years of experience on keyboard and mouse. I only have about a year of keyboard and mouse experience, only a year, but I feel like it's harder for like newer players to come into. But like for the people that are able to like, they know like their keyboard, they know their mouse a little bit. You watch people game and they may not have the best aim, but it's good enough to get the job done. And some characters don't need that much aim or as much aim as other characters. But for those characters, for the people that have the ability to aim, oh my god, the focus is insane. I think I just gotta hold my mic. Gotta hold it. For the people that are able to fully realize the potential of the game, fully realize that like you have a lot of team play opportunity, you have a lot of outplay opportunity, uh, um, but also it is a very team-based game. Making decisions right is obviously going to be one of the most important aspects of the game. And if you don't make those decisions right, you're probably going to lose. But like I said, those decisions are, you know, working together. Being cordial. Uh, so a lot of games, or not a lot of games. Some games like Marvel Rivals, or Overwatch. I don't know how it is now, but it's very egoist where uh, you want to carry the game, and that's fine. That's fine. You can carry the game in Deadlock, and you can carry the game in Overwatch, but you still need teammates. It's not. You should not be thinking that a team-based game should be only about one person, because in some cases it's very beneficial to if somebody is destroying the game, carrying the game, and ruining your teammates' experience. It can be, it'll make them feel a lot better, especially if they feel like like somebody's like there trying to help them. If they have like some support, and, I feel like I feel like it relies a lot on team play, and team play is obviously, hopefully, brings about the best in people. Obviously, it doesn't all the time, but hopefully, it brings about the best in people, and people want to play good and want to work together, want to be nice to each other. Nice. Video game. Couldn't be Call of Duty. But, oh my god, why is the focus so bad? But anyways, I feel like the team play aspect of it makes it a very good contender for being one of the greatest games. I feel like the developers themselves are very skilled, obviously, and they're listening to the community. I feel like that could games that have very tight communities are very very good. Games like Dwarf Fortress, very indie game, not many people know about it, but like their community, they're really, in tune with their community, what they want out of the game and all that stuff. I feel like having a tight community is very important. I feel like having a fun game is important. I feel like Deadlock is definitely one of the most fun games I've ever played. Definitely one of the most unique with the way its movement works, with the way the melees work, with the way the builds work, and all that stuff. Man, such potential, man. I feel like this game has great potential to be one of the greatest games of all time, if not definitely one of the most played, most replayable games of all time. Definitely, 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 definitely one of the greatest MOBA hero shooter games to have ever been made, potentially. But who knows? Thank you very much for watching. 3, 2, 1, 0.